Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today, at the request of a donor, I am playing Rainbow Depths, which is not very far out of my comfort zone, as you well know if you watch the channel. I do love some Turbo Depths action. So, what is this deck? Well, we are trying to get Dark Depths into play and remove all the counters of it with Vampire Hexmage. Alternatively, we make a copy of it with Thespian stage, so our copy doesn't have any counters on and becomes a 20/20. Then we swing and our opponent dies. The whole deck is dedicated to making this one thing happen, and we can't win any other way. So we've got a load of fast mana in the form of Lotus Petals and Spirit Guides. We've got tutors in the form of Crop Rotation and Sylvan Scrying. We've got Pithing Needles, Sylvan Safekeeper, Inquisition of Kozilek, Thoughtseize, Stifles, and Not of This World to protect our combo in various ways. So by taking the removal out of their hand, or stifling activations of Wasteland or Karakas, and then Pithing Needle to name Wasteland or Karakas. And we've got some tools in our mana base that we can go and find to help us, like a Sejiri Steppe to give our creature protection. And we have a Boseiju we can tutor up with Sylvan Scrying to blow up a problem permanent, like an Ensnaring Bridge, for example. We have a Ghost Quarter, because we're normally going to be putting Pithing Needle on Wasteland, so we want a land that can blow up another scary land like a Karakas without having to worry about our own Pithing Needle naming it. So that's what we have there. The rest of our mana base is all like rainbow lands. We've got Mana Confluences, Gemstone Mine, City of Brass. So we can kind of cast these Stifles alongside black spells and green spells or whatever. Sideboard wise, we're leaning into some blue spells with the Flusterstorms here. We've got 4 Leyline in the Void for graveyard decks, which I think might be a little bit outdated tech-wise in terms of how the meta is now, but we're going to play the list as I was submitted, because the list is more or less fine. We have a Bojuka Bog in the sideboard, which is unusual. We normally see in the main. But I think at the moment it's something that is potentially trimmable from the main. Like I said, Leylines aren't that essential anymore. So the Bojuka Bog seems right there. We have 2 Abrupt Decay to answer problem permanents. Force of Vigor we have to run if we want to blow up Blood Moon specifically, because the chance of us being able to cast this Abrupt Decay under a Blood Moon are quite low unless we float mana in response. And we have 2 Collector Ouphe to mess with our opponent's artifacts. And then we've got a Karakas that we can go and find for matchups where we want to bounce legends. Things like the Reanimator matchup. So a lot of our tools are kind of for Reanimator matchups at the end of the day. So we can transition to that a little bit. My thoughts on this particular list is it's fine. I think the main deck is okay. I do think Stifle is a little bit of a trap, personally. It does have the flexibility, but it means that you have to have an additional mana open when you're trying to combo. And I think with a sideboard, I want to make more use of the rainbow land, so I'd have things like Deafening Silence and stuff in the sideboard. If you'd like my thoughts on Rainbow Depths in general, though, there is an article on my Patreon that you can have a look at where I discuss Rainbow Depths and some of the traps that I think people fall into when playing the deck. But even so, the deck is intrinsically powerful. We're making a massive creature early on in the game, and we can win with one single swing in combat. So what we are doing is intrinsically powerful, and it's always going to be a viable enough strategy, I think, because you're doing something that requires an answer or you just win the game. So it's a nice, strong, proactive deck. You can discuss about tweaking in the margins to get your percentages up, but that's it for the deck tech. And if you're interested in more about this, or just other Dark Depths decks in general, by all means check out my Patreon. And if you would like a donation deck like this one, or like whatever you want really, then by all means get in touch with me via the Discord, or you can get hold of me just in the comment section. I'll get back to you there. Alright, like and subscribe, and let's play some Turbo Depths. If you're looking to play Legacy on MTGO like me, why not try Card Hoarder? They're a rental service that I personally use, and I found them better than other rental services that I've used in the past. So why not give them a try? We're on the play for round 1, which is not a bad place to be. What does our hand do? We have a turn 2 20/20 here, right? So we play out City of Brass. Next time we play the Thespian stage, the City of Brass becomes a Dark Depths, and we have Lotus Petal and Elvish Spirit Guide to get us there. So I will keep this. So we'll lead out with just a City of Brass. That kind of obscures what we're doing a little bit. I don't think we're going to play out the Lotus Petal here. I guess we could get punished, perhaps. But I don't want it to get like Prismatic Ending or something. So we could play into like Chalice for 0, but it's unlikely our opponent's going to drop that. But they could play some kind of taxing effect on us, like a Sphere of Resistance, which would be annoying, but we can get around that. But if our opponent is playing the lands with Sphere of Resistance, the lands matchup's horrible anyway, so we shall see. Yeah, so it looks like we're playing against some sort of lands. We need to work out what specific build is, because there's a white build floating around, which is very good. There's a white build with Sphere of Resistance, which is the absolute worst case scenario for us. There's a Saga. Okay. Alright, there's a Sphere of Resistance that I said. So in response, we will have to crop rotate here. And we won't be able to play out the Lotus Petal now, will we? That's pretty awkward. Does that mean we're not supposed to crop rotate here? No, I think we still crop rotate here. So the thing I did say is the one thing that would punish us for keeping this in hand has happened. So you love to see it, right? So Dark Depths. Now if our opponent has a Thespian stage, they might be able to get us as well. Crop rotation. Put the land out. Play this Lotus Petal. And then we'll pass. So we can do an emergency crop rotation if we have to, because we have the Lotus Petal and Spirit Guide. If we'd have played out a Lotus Petal on turn 1, then we'd have been in a much better spot. But if our opponent had something like a Prismatic Ending, we could have got punished for that. A Wasteland. Okay, that's pretty bad news for us. But we can, if they crop rotate while our shields look kind of down, then we can at least crop rotate the Dark Depths into another Dark Depths. And we just need to find a little bit more mana. A Lotus Petal. It's kind of annoying. I guess we just pass here. If our opponent makes the Urza Saga token here, then we can make our 2020 and hope they don't have a thing that's going to get them there. So this can get them an expedition map. Then they can pay to go and get the Karakas. They can also just get a Pithing Needle here. God, we are so just ruined here. I don't know how we're supposed to win this game. This matchup feels so bad. We need them to make a token here. Yeah, they're not going to. They're just going to float mana so they can activate their expedition map. Oh no, they're making a construct here. Alright, that means it's going to be harder for them to crack an expedition map, so here goes nothing, I suppose. We're all in. Curious why they've made that token there. Yep, so have a Pithing Needle. Probably going to name Thespian stage here. But they have one mana. Well, they have one land drop. If that land drop is Karakas, then that makes it understandable why they made the construct there. Okay, they had the Karakas. We're going to scoop. Yeah, this matchup is pretty bad. How are we supposed to beat what our opponent's doing? That's a very good question. Like, we can board in Force of Vigor to stop the Urza Saga. So the Inquisition doesn't feel great here. So a couple of Force of Vigor. I don't mind having a Thoughtseize on the play just to like poke a little hole in their hand. If they've got like a crop rotation or something, we can take that away from them. We could play our own Karakas. We could play our own Bojuka Bog to like deal with life from the lane. But if we're in that situation, the game's already lost in my opinion. So I think we just keep it like this. There is an argument for bringing in these Abrupt Decays over Thoughtseize. But I think the curve that we kind of want is turn 1, Thoughtseize our opponent, turn 2, combo off. So that's what we're going to go for. Alternatively, turn 1 combo with protection, which is a thing that sometimes happens. Okay, well, we'll keep this. It's the same hand as last time, which, if you recall, did not get us there. But we can't play out the Dark Depths first because our opponent can sometimes mess with our Dark Depths. So if we have a Dark Depths, they can use their stage to copy it. So you don't really want to play your Dark Depths out in this matchup until you're ready to go off, which is just another one of the wrinkles that makes this matchup really horrible. I've wooded foothills. Okay. I could stifle this. I'm not going to. There's Savannah. Feels like they're probably on the Source of Plowshares build. Exploration is pretty good. And a Wasteland. Understood. Lotus Petal would be a nice draw here. Did not find the Lotus Petal. I'm going to play out the Dark Depths this turn. And then next turn, we can... Actually, no, next time we can play the Urborg out. And then combo with Stifle to get through the Wasteland. Alright, our opponent has a Thespian stage there. That's pretty terrible news for us. But if they activate it, then we get to activate in response. But they can activate it and... Oh, yikes. This is a bit of a disaster. This matchup always is, though. Right, so we have an Urborg. So we have the combo with Stifle. Guess that's about as good as it gets for us. Kind of need our opponent to act first because they've got 2 layers of interaction with us. They've got the Thespian stage and the Wasteland. There's a forest. There's a Dark Depths from our opponents. We can beat this though. So I think we're going to go for it here. Because what we do here is we go... This will become a copy of the Dark Depths. We can Stifle the Wasteland trigger. And if they make their own 2020, we can then Sylvan Scrying for Sejiri Steppe to swing through for the win. So maybe we found a little way through here. I'll keep this one. And now they will Wasteland. And then we will Stifle their Wasteland. Surgical Extraction on our Dark Depths. I guess. Oh, did they not get them all from our deck? Interesting. Oh no, they have. They're still going through it. It hasn't finished resolving. Alright. Well, we only really get one chance at winning the game against lands anyway, so... They will know if they're dead or not right now. If they got crop rotation, we are dead. Okay, they're just letting us have a 2020. That's exciting. So now we beat crop rotation. Swords to Plowshares. We don't beat that though. I'm going to scoop. Alright, this matchup is somewhere in the ballpark of 80-20 in favour of our opponent. It's not great. This particular lands build, I don't know if I've actually ever beaten... No, I think I've only beaten it once with Green-Black Turbo Depths in all the times I've played it. The fact they got plows on top of all the normal things that lands does is just the worst for us. So not a great start, but like we played to what we could do to win that game. We had pretty much everything but plow covered in this turn, because if they wastelanded us, we had the Stifle. They didn't wasteland us, so if they then crop rotation, we could Stifle the Karakas trigger or the Maze of Ith trigger, whatever. So we do, and we could also do that as well as making our land drop that would give our guy protection to go through their Merit Lage. So we had a lot of ways of getting through. But this is the problem with this deck. Almost every card in their deck pretty much ruins us in some way, shape or form. They have their own Thespian stage. Pretty bad. As a Saga then goes and gets some things that can stop our combo. They've got Wastelands. They've got Karakas. They've got Maze of Ith. It's just too much. Alright, let's go to round 2. Alright, our opening hand makes a turn 3 Merit Lage here. That's fine. We've got a lot of protection. We can work out if we need to lead out on the Needle or the Inquisition, hopefully from our opponent's first turn, but we'll see what they play. Cavern of Souls. Very unlikely to be a Wasteland deck here, so I don't think we're going to need these Pithing Needles unless our opponent plays Eldrazi. Maybe they will have Wastelands, okay. Okay, we're just going to do it this way because we've drawn the right things. So we're going to put this on Wasteland. I used to play Eldrazi. I think Eldrazi was the highest win rate I had at big tournaments with any deck in Legacy, actually. I used to jam Eldrazi Stompy, and I cashed it every single tournament I played it in. Oh, look at that. Sun off that Wasteland. You love to see it. White and 1. Is this just going to be the little Mimic guy? Yeah, okay. That's an irrelevancy. So we get to play Pithing Needle. Sorry, we get to play the Inquisition here. We think that's going to be relevant. Let's see what they got over there. Elvish Spirit Guide, Matter Reshaper. None of these matter. No pun intended. Right. Here comes the Hexmage. I'm not sure what our opponent can draw. Yep. So you see the writing on the wall. So, what do you want for Eldrazi? It's probably just the Abrupt Decays. Like, Flusterstorm isn't really going to get us anywhere. The Leylines don't do anything. Collector Ouphe can sometimes do things depending on their build, but I don't think it's worth having. Neither is the Force of Vigor. So, we just want a couple of Abrupt Decays, and Not of This World is not really where I want to be in this matchup either. So we will take those out. Now they might have a Karakas of their own. That's certainly a possibility, but we kind of have Stifles that can cover that. I think we just submit like this. Well, our opening hand does the thing, doesn't it? So, turn 1 Urborg, turn 2 Vampire Hexmage. That seems fine to me. We also have a Sejiri Steppe if they have. Okay, so they've got a Wasteland over there. That does change things a little bit. Not too much though. Alright. Is there a way we want to do this? Let's play out the Lotus Petal first. So we could... Just trying to work out the easiest way of getting around this. I think we still just play out the Urborg here. If we need to crop rotate, we can. We can crop rotate into a Ghost Quarter to take out their Wasteland. The old colourless deck doesn't have the best interaction with us. Once upon a time, sure, let's see what they reveal. I actually sold off all my paper Eldrazi stuff a little while ago. I think it's going to need a lot to be good again. There's a Matter Reshaper. Oakley dokley. Is that a second Wasteland? That's pretty annoying, actually. That does change things up a bit for us. A Gemstone Mine. Interesting. Alright, let's deploy the Hexmage. And then I think we just deploy the Gemstone Mine here. So we can crop rotate into a Dark Depths if they tap out, and they're less likely to tap out if we put the Dark Depths into play. So as it stands, they need to put something into play. And if it's just one Wasteland that they're relying on, then we can get rid of that. So we're trying to get them to tap off of one of their Wastelands. Because we have one Wasteland beaten, we just go and get our cheeky little Ghost Quarter. Sorcerer's Spyglass. That is annoying. Sure, they can see how good our hand is. So they're probably going to name Vampire Hexmage here. But we can Thespian stage combo. And our opponent can't really tap out. Although now they know that they can tap out of one Wasteland and leave one up. They named Thespian stage rather than Vampire Hexmage. That's interesting. Does this mean they have a way of dealing with the Hexmage? Is it Warping Whale or it could be Dismember? I think Warping Whale kills creatures with power or toughness 1. Interesting. Play the Dark Depths. Let's go to attacks. So we can draw something like a Stifle. We could draw... I don't think we're going to play out a Spirit Guide. Maybe we should play the Spirit Guide out there. You always use the other one to... Alright. So... Float green off of this. We'll crop rotate this Dark Depths away. There was Sejiri Extraction here. That'd be pretty annoying. Get another Dark Depths here. This makes me think they have a Karakas here. If they've got the Karakas, then that's pretty annoying. They tend to run between 0 and 1 Karakas. So we're kind of hoping it's the 0 rather than the 1. We'll see. Alright, no, I'm not sure why they went into it then, if they didn't have the Karakas there. Alright, pretty easy. This is the sort of matchup you can farm quite well with Total Depths, because they don't have that much interaction. It's just the one layer of interaction usually. So, alright, let's go to round 3 with 1 and 1. This hand doesn't really have any mana, so I think we have to throw this one back. This doesn't have access to a a Dark Depths to make 2020 with, so I don't think we can keep this. This is a turn 3. We'll keep this. We'll throw back this Urborg and probably a spare Mana Confluence. Because if we find another piece of fast mana, we can go faster. Alright, Tomb into Petal. Another Stompy deck. Yep. If they're playing a Caves of Chaos Adventure, they will outrace what we're doing here. Seasoned Dungeoneer. That might outrace what we're doing here. So we need to find some more fast mana, I think. That's not fast mana, is it? So we have to play out the Thespian stage here. And I think we play out the Petal here. So playing this way means that if we draw the fast mana, we get... Actually, we should have played the Dark Depths out first, right? If we play the Dark Depths out, then we're live to drawing Hexmage or fast mana. Yeah, that was in a bit of an error there. Right. Okay. So we take 5 and 6, and then we're dead on the next turn. This is too slow. think we're dead. We're going to let our opponent show us a top 10 cards of their... Actually, we're probably not going to see the top 10 cards, are we? I don't think they're going to race through. We do get to see a little bit more when they reveal another card. And this game's not going to go that long, so you may as well get a little bit more information. We're a turn too slow here. They do have a Solitude as well, just waiting around. So they have a white card for it. And they can gain some life, but we can rebuild from that, and maybe the life will be enough. But probably not. Yep, so this will put us to 3. We can make a 20-20 next turn, but we can't swing with it. We can maybe force our opponent to Solitude and make a mistake. It's pretty obvious what we're doing at this point, so... God, if we had a Maze of Ith in here, we'd be sorted. I'm going to put this cavern on Elemental, I suspect. Nope, Human. Okay. Shall we reveal here? Another Seasoned Engineer. Let's see if they make a mistake here. And Swords to Plowshares our creature. Or Solitude it. I think they're just going to do nothing and hit us for 7, but give our opponent a chance to make the mistake. They did not make the mistake, and it's game over. Okay. So this is the matchup we're going to want. Ways of beating Magus of the Moon. They tend not to run Blood Moon. It's just Magus, because that's a human they can cast more easily. So we're going to want these two. And nothing else here really takes my fancy too much. The Pithing Needle is okay for Karakas, but not exceptional. That's another 1-drop, so I think we just bin those off and submit like this. This is normally a pretty good matchup, but someone making a 4-mana initiative creature on turn 1 is going to beat most decks most of the time. This hand doesn't do anything, so that's mulligan. Yeah, this one doesn't really get us there either, does it? What does this do? 1, 2. This is the turn 2 2020. We can keep this. So we've got Petal, Gemstone, Hexmage, Crop Protections. We get rid of one of these, and I guess we get rid of the other. Another Hexmage? Or is it the Sylvan Scrying? Probably the Hexmage in case we have to use the Sylvan Scrying to find a Dark Depths. So we have to play this one now, so that when we untap next turn, we can then crop rotate for it. This does open us up to removal and stuff, but you've got to play the hand you're dealt. And this one makes a turn 2 2020, so our opponent has to disrupt that, or we get smash them up good. Lotus Petal, we're going to see here. Fable and Breaker. Okay, that does not beat what we're doing here. Just going to attacks, because this has first strike. And then we'll leave the fact that we can kill them as a bit of a surprise. We're hoping to dodge the Karakas here. Very Macabre is interesting. Maybe they thought we were on more of like a life emblem. Okay, no Karakas. This makes them treasure so they can go and get themselves... So they can hardcast a Solitude here. Okay, now they can't hardcast Solitude. An Archon of Emeria. Okay. Let's do the thing. Crop rotate away, get the Dark Depths. Make it 2020. Sejiri Steppe off the top wins us the game. There's not a Sejiri Steppe off the top. They have a Swords to Plowshares. Alright, but we have no permanents in play, so... Gone a little bit awry for us. I won't lie. Now, we had a multi 5 that made a turn 2 2020. I don't think we can throw that one back. There's a case of when you mulligan with this deck, you're going to mulligan until you find a way of making a 2020, or at least access to a Dark Depths, because the other pieces are easier to come by. And then the amount you have to mulligan to get there depends how much protection you had. We had to mulligan twice, so the amount of protection we had was reduced to basically none. So, alright, we've got a lot of life to get through here. Yep, so they're copying this because this gives them more mana. Yep, so we're going to take 6. Down to 22. Over to us. Not a mana source. Let's pass. Not the most eventful of turns for us. Even when we do find a land, it will come in tapped. So this is going to be hitting us for 6 again. Next turn, it's going to be 8. and then the turn after we die. So we need to find land this turn. Otherwise we die, because our land's kind of tapped. I guess that kind of can do something. If we play Sylvan Safekeeper, chump block's not really going to get us anywhere, is it? Nope. I'm not sure how to win this one. We need like a green terminus to draw, which is not a thing that's going to happen. Yep, so here's the 8 damage. And then we die. Not the most exciting of rounds, that one, unfortunately. But sometimes your initiative player is going to make a initiative creature on turn 1 on the play. And that's going to be enough. Alright, were they on the play? Yes, they were on the play, okay. Yes, because if they're not on the play there, we at least get a chance to swing for one, and they'll gain us 20 life, but then we can rebuild because we had it in game 1. Game 2, we just had to shoot our shot on a mull to 5, and I didn't get there. Alright, we are 1 and 2, sadly. Let's go to round 4. Alright, we have a pretty reasonable hand here. So I'm going to keep this one. We can Thoughtseize into turn 3 combo. If we draw a piece of fast mana, we can reassess the situation a little bit. Alright, a white deck. Not necessarily where we want to be, but let's take a peek. Problem is, our opponent could brainstorm away good cards here, but they don't necessarily know what... Force of Negation. We don't care about Force of Negation. We don't care about Drown the Lock. So I think we take the Beanstalk. That's the thing that draws them into things we do care about at some point. Now we could draw a Hexmage this turn. Useful. We did not draw a Hexmage. We did draw the fast mana, so we could have done things slightly differently. But we're going to play out our Thespian's stage here. I think the jig is up and our opponent knows what's happening. They're cracking the Flooded Strand. For Xander's Lounge. That's to help them cast... Is this a Grixis one? This is a Grixis one, yeah. So that's to help them cast Leyline Binding cheaper. Which is something we can stifle. But... Right, our opponent can't tap out now, necessarily. They probably do have Solitude in their decks. It's just very good with a Beanstalk. And I played this deck on my channel probably yesterday for you viewers. Not this specific build our opponent's playing. We're playing the leaning into red rather than black. So our opponent wants to do here. So they have 1 mana Leyline Bindings here. Up the Beanstalk. Sure. Because we don't actually have access to the... Are we supposed to go here or not is the question. They got a fair few mystery cards here. Oh, so there's the other Flooded Strand actually. So they got 3 mystery cards. Our Disruption will also not resolve is the problem because of their Force of Negation and their Drown the Lock. So I think we just need to put them to the test here. Sometimes you try and draw a removal, but we know they already have an answer for our Disruption. So I think the correct play here is to just make them have it. And if they do have it, then we're going to have to rebuild every few turns. We're getting plowed. Feels like we're getting plowed. We're getting Leyline Binding. Sure. It was relatively telegraphed with Xander's Lounge. But, like I said, we don't think we have the option there. So we did find a piece of protection, but again, that's not going to protect them. Because what they'll do is they'll probably wait till their turn. Till our turn to play something. Although they didn't there. Maybe... But this is not a piece of disruption that matters too much. Alright. Need to think and regroup here. What is the plan? I think we are playing a Yavimaya here. And passing. So our opponent is heavily favoured here. It's going to take them a little while to win the game, but I think it's more or less inevitable at this point. It's really interesting to me that they Leyline Binded on their turn when they had the Force of Negation in hand. Maybe that means they have a Force of Will as well. Alright, let's play a Mana Confluence. Let's cast 7 different options of our Mana Confluence there. Let's cast an Elvish Spirit Guide. Here come the beats. Now, they do have this answer with the Drown Lock if they... Sure. I think their hand must be very good if that's worth a card. Bowmasters, sure. You're into hand. So definitely have a blue card. Another Mana Confluence. Alright, so let's play a Spirit Guide here. Biggest creature on the board, right? So we're holding up a Stifle. Not that I expect the Stifle to do very much. This new breed of Beanstalk Euro Index I think is probably slightly better for depths than the old builds. A Leyline Binding. Do I care enough about this? I think I might do. Because this checks their creatures for quite a while. Yeah, they're just going to hard cast the Force of Negation, so we're working through the thing. So now we can at least cast our tutors to find our Dark Depths. Right, they've got Wasteland as well. Because these new Beanstalk builds tend not to have the Karakas in. And they tend to have less Wastelands. Instead of having 2 Wastelands, they tend to have just the 1. So it's slightly better for us. But yeah, we're not going anywhere here. A little Brainstorm from our opponent there. No, we haven't got anything here. Force of Negation is gone. So they can cast the Urine if they want, and it will draw them 2 cards. One for the trigger on the Beanstalk, and then one for blinking the Beanstalk. I don't think that's necessary right now, but maybe they just want to get this game over and done with. Yeah, that's fine. That's what they're doing. We don't have anything like Steely Resolve in our sideboard to answer loads of different removal spells. Okay. A Lotus Petal. 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we're not beating this now. Might as well go to game 2. So, what do we actually want here is the question. I think Flusterstorm is kind of interesting. But I think that's probably about it. So we know they have Wastelands. We kind of want the Pithing Needle. Sylvan Safekeeper protects our creatures, so we kind of need to keep that in as well. The Knot of this World protects our creatures quite well too. Stifles can protect things. Maybe we're off of some of the discard in favour of Flusterstorms. I think that's probably where we need to be. So I have so much interchangeable removal that Thoughtseizing one piece away isn't always great. You need to be able to stop the one they're casting, which is hopefully what Flusterstorm's going to do. Now, Flusterstorm doesn't hit Leyline Binding, which is a bit of a problem. But Stifle does stop Leyline Binding, which is nice, but whew, it's going to be tricky for us. I find myself saying that a lot. So this hand does make a 20/20, but it relies on Sylvan Scrying being resolved. So I don't think we want to keep that one. Okay, this is good. This is Thoughtseize into our combo uncounterably. This is nice. I think we do Thoughtseize rather than cast the Pithing Needle because our opponent has 1 Wasteland in their deck, possibly 2 at a push. Whereas Thoughtseize right now, we can sort of cut the rug from underneath them. Ponder, Leyline Binding, Beanstalk. Okay, we'll take the Binding. That's a definite answer to what we're trying to accomplish. We can't cheese them with a cheeky little Thespian stage either. Not a Pithing Needle one like their fetch lands because they haven't got any here. If they had like 2 of the same fetch land, that's something we could think about potentially. Volcanic Island and Ponder, sure. Plays Pithing Needle on Wasteland. I'm not expecting our opponent to have a Karakas in their deck. So we have a choice here. Okay, the choice has been made for us. I was going to say we can wait for a turn for have the crop rotation up, but we'll see how much mana our opponent keeps up at end of turn here. Underground Sea. It's going to pass. Okay, we're going to do this with 2 layers of protection here, I think. Let's play good old-fashioned Gemstone Mine. And then we'll end of turn it with 2 pieces of protection. So we've got the Sejiri Steppe as well as the Knot of this World. Up the Beanstalk, that's fine by me. Let's tap them out some mana here. Let's make it 20/20. Let's get rid of this Gemstone Mine and go looking for a Sejiri Steppe. Because we could draw the Sejiri Steppe next turn. So I'd rather have this. In case I want to do something in our turn. Alright, we got the game there. We managed to wriggle through the pieces. I felt okay. I think we just resubmit and try it again. This hand needs just 1 piece of mana. I think I'm going to keep this one. We've got 32 mana in total in the deck. No, that's not true. We got 28 because 4 of them are Dark Depths. There's a Ponder from our opponent. They did mulligan to 5, so that's quite good news for us. But I like having various forms of protection here. Another piece of fast mana and we can sort of set ourselves up nicely. Alright. What do we want to do here? I think we just... Is this a turn we Thoughtseize? They chose not to shuffle. So they might have buried the cards they want on top. So I'm just going to hang this out there. And pass. So I can Flusterstorm something. If there's something that requires me to Flusterstorm it. Seems unlikely there would be. But we want our opponent to draw another card, I think, before we Thoughtseize them ideally. Although, do we have that luxury? Don't know if we do. No, I think we just Thoughtseize them now. Right, if this was a rainbow land or something, then we could take it one turn slower. Alright, so they're shuffling away that card that was on the top with the Ponder. Okay, now they're brainstorming to protect whatever their piece of removal is. 2 Force of Wills. Understood. Not very exciting. Played a Tundra. And passed. Crop rotation. That is interesting to me. Play our Dark Depths. We can make our combo here and protect it with 1 card. Our opponent has 2 mystery cards. If we find another mana source of any description, we get another piece of protection. But will it be protection through the Force of Will? So they might have 2 pieces of interaction. I think we need to keep fishing for cards here. Any mana, please. Okay, that is another piece of mana. So now we can go on their turn. So we can put Spirit Guide, tap this to do this, and then we have either Flusterstorm or Crop Rotation. That feels pretty strong. Sure, we'll pass. Because that gets through the Force of Will as well. So it's going to be better than the Crop Rotation. Actually, we can't even Crop Rotate for the Sejiri Steppe that's in hand. It's Pluto Delta, they're cracking the Misty Rainforest. We're going to see a Beanstalk here. Be my guest. 4 cards in their hand. Love me some Elvish Spirit Guide. You going to fight now or are you going to fight on my turn, opponent? A Swords to Plowshares. Let's say no to Swords to Plowshares. Let's build Storm Count for our Flusterstorm. Another Swords to Plowshares. Let's cast Flusterstorm. Targeting this. We have 4 copies. So the first copy on this one. Second copy on this one. Third copy on this one. And also on this one. So our opponent have a Flusterstorm of their very own. So I have to pay 3 for this one and 2 for this one. So even if they Force of Will, I guess I could Force of Will one of the Flusterstorm copies and then pay. But then the Not of This World is okay, that one. So both of them are kind of taxed in 3 different ways. Force of Will. This doesn't work, right? Unless they have... What is the last card in hand? Is it another Swords to Plowshares? That'll make me a bit sad. Okay, they're paying for that Flusterstorm. But then this does that. And then I'm left with the 2020 and they're tapped out. Alright, we got the match. Yeah, so the Flusterstorm does help. This is something that the green-black Turbo Depths I normally play doesn't have access to. And the Flusterstorm does help in this matchup a decent amount. Lets you sort of fight over things like that. But sometimes you'll end up with a Flusterstorm where your opponent's just got loads of lands, they can just get to pay for stuff, and it just doesn't really go anywhere. But yeah, so we are 2-2 going to the final round, looking for the positive record. We're on the play for the final round. What does our hand do? I'll tell you what it doesn't do, and that's make a 2020. So get back in the deck and give us some new cards to look at. What does this hand do? This doesn't make 2020. Let's have some more cards. So we go. These two find us the Dark Depths, but then we didn't really do anything with it. No, we got better 4s than this. Speaking of better 4s, this isn't one of them. Let's go to 3. Yuck. This is real bad. What would we keep as a 2-card hand that would be better than this? So if we keep this, we're keeping Boseiju, Hexmage, and Crop Rotation. That's probably better than some of the other ones there. This means we can draw 1 card to be able to go off. If we draw Urborg or Dark Depths, we can kill our opponent on turn 3. A grief. Alright. In for a penny, in for a pound, right? Let's get ourselves a Dark Depths because we can't win without that in play. So we lose our Hexmage. What do they pitch to this? A Plague Engineer. That makes you think our opponent is on a mono black deck. Plague Engineer is not normally main deck in the 2-color decks. Okay, Swamp. That's leading me to believe I was more correct. A Dark Ritual. Profane Tutor. A Lotus Petal. Our opponent's shown us to discard already, so we'll play that one. That does help our game plan somewhat. A Dauthi Voidwalker, you say. A Mana Confluence. Okay, we're 1 card away from making a 2020. Give me a Thespian stage off the top. They do get to tutor for something now. So if they have an opposition agent, that's definitely a thing that I would think about getting. Because it's very good against our deck. Oh, nope. I've yielded through our turn backs. And then it didn't matter, but it was annoying. Helm of Obedience. Sure. So we can... Alright, there's our Urborg. We can stifle this Helm activation. That's kind of fun. Alright. They just get us there. Oakley Dokley. So we know they've got Helm combo. We know they've got opposition agents in their deck somewhere. That's probably all we really want. They're not going to be targeting our creature. So these Not of This World and the Sylvan Safekeeper can get out of here. They're going to be doing things like Shoulder's Edict, which is very annoying for us. Do we want Flusterstorms to stop Shoulder's Edict? That's basically one of the only things that stops. It can stop some of the other bits and pieces, I suppose. It's not amazing, though. Is this better than discard? That's the question, isn't it? I don't know if they've got Wastelands. They had a lot of... Maybe we don't want the... Oh, damn, maybe we don't want the Force of Vigors. The Force of Vigor does stop their combo. That's probably better than the Decay. But the Decays kill the opposition agent. That's what, so we have to play the Abrupt Decays. Okay, so Force of Vigor. Do we need days when we already have Pithing Needle? Maybe we can just have a couple of Flusterstorms. And then strip out an Inquisition for one. Because Inquisition doesn't hit their combo. And that's the thing that's going to beat us. That and like Heavy Disruption. This hand doesn't make a 2020, unfortunately. Although I guess I only needed a green mana, so maybe I was a little hasty throwing that one back. What about this one? No, I don't like this one too much either. We should have kept that first hand, I think. Okay, I'm down to climb with this one. This is a turn 3 2020. We'll throw back this Sejiri Steppe. And the Ghost Quarter, I think. Let's Thoughtseize our opponent. Next turn we Sylvan Scrying. Opposition agent, Grief, Ratchet Bomb. That's a lot of stuff I don't want to play against. I guess we take the opposition agent here. Because that definitely hampers us the most. We will need some more mana for this to pan out. Man, I think we should have kept the first hand. Alright, there's the Thoughtseize. If we keep the first hand, we're just trying to draw into green mana. Which is relatively likely with our deck. The heuristics are slightly different on this one compared to the ones. Okay, so they're just making us hellbent here. But they're also making themselves hellbent. I'm not sure Ratchet Bomb's where you want to be, though. Okay. We're close. I can feel it. Let's draw a Lotus Petal or Elvish Spirit Guide next turn, please. Opponent's got one mystery card in hand. Okay, this is to name Pithing Needle, I suppose. To blow up Pithing Needle. They got one card in hand. I guess we want to have a look at it. Let's take the Thoughtseize, I guess. Alright, who can top deck better? I need to draw any mana source. They need to draw very specific things. So we are heavily favoured here. There's a mana source. Yep, okay. I think we probably should have kept that first hand that needed green mana. Green mana is more abundant in this build than it is in the green-black turbo decks I normally play. But here we are. Yeah, I think this is fine. I think we just resubmit here. Do we want Force of Vigor just as another out to combo-y stuff? The Inquisition gets worse, so I'll take 1 Force of Vigor here. This doesn't have access to Dark Depths, so we need to mulligan this one. This one does have access to Dark Depths if I can find a green source, and we have 2 pieces that do that, so I think this is keepable. And we're probably going to throw back this Stifle here. Leyline in the Void. Sure. Thoughtseize? There's a Thoughtseize. So probably losing the crop rotation, because that's the most efficient way we can assemble our combo here. I took the Pithing Needle. Okay, so they're going on an aggressive line to try and win the game quickly. It's understandable. Right, we'll play the Urborg out here. If you had a piece of fast mana, then maybe we play out the other one, the Thespian stage, because then we're 2 draws away from assembling our combo. With fast mana. A Ghost Quarter. That's interesting. Troll of Khazad-dûm. Yep. Get a swamp. Reanimate. Sure. That's Sylvan Scrying for a Dark Depths. We're getting closer. Don't have a lot of turns because this troll will kill us in 4 turns. But now I'm glad we have a Gemstone Mine instead of a Mana Confluence. Dark Ritual. Is this just going to be Helm and kill us? A Grief. Okay, so we're going to lose 1 of our crop rotations here. That also does change the clock. So we can assemble the combo next turn. The problem here is that they have the Ghost Quarter. So we'll take 9 this turn to play this Pithing Needle, and then we make our guy, but it can't block. Okay, I think we play out the Thespian stage and hope that they make a mistake. It's not great for us. Yes, Ghost Quarter's going to beat us. That's why they took the Pithing Needle. It wasn't for the combo. It was, and a Wasteland. Yeah, that's us deads, I think. We also don't have anything to benefit from. Alright, so if we sacrifice this, we force action on... We can sacrifice our Thespian stage, but then we can't combo and we're definitely dead. Okay, we have to sack this and hope our opponent makes a mistake. Oh, they have made a mistake. Interesting. Okay. Now, if they've got Shoulder's Edict, then fair enough. Oh, no, they didn't. They just punted it and gave us the the 3-2 record. All right. Interesting. Okay, we got there. I'll take that. That's why you play to your opponents make a mistake when it's your only out. Sometimes it'll get you there. So, but hopefully that's a learning experience for our opponent. I've made countless mistakes playing Magic the Gathering, and you just learn from them. All right, let's have a little chat about the deck. So we went 3-2, which is not an incredible record, but I think we could have beaten the initiative deck. On average, I would say that is a matchup that we are winning. However, there are definitely draws that are nigh on unbeatable from their deck, so it's kind of an awkward one. You want them to just tunnel into having something like a Mages of the Moon and just let you get away with it. Although we are colder to Mages of the Moon with this deck than the normal build of green-black that I play. So what do I think about this list overall? I think Stifle is kind of interesting. It has some uses for sure, but it does add +1 mana to your combo, and the mana you're adding is awkward as well because it's blue mana, which isn't necessarily the easiest to find. But in this build, it's not too bad. But if it was green, it would be slightly easier. So what I normally say is I would rather have 4 Pithing Needles, because Pithing Needle allows you to play mana, so that instead of holding up 1 mana, you get to play it earlier. And Pithing Needle answers every single copy of Wasteland, not just 1 activation. Now, granted, you can lose your Pithing Needle to stuff, which is a very real problem sometimes. But I just think 4 Pithing Needles is a better place to be. Sylvan Safekeeper, we never had a situation where it would have looked good, really, because we tend not to have many lands to sacrifice. I just don't think this is good. I think I'd rather have a 4th Not of This World than the first Sylvan Safekeeper. It's just easier. And like, we don't have that many things for our opponents to remove with their removal. So Sylvan Safekeeper just kind of just eats that up. And that Lightning Bolt or whatever, or Fatal Push, isn't going to affect our game plan otherwise. So it just turns on a card in our opponent's deck. So I'm really not a fan of Sylvan Safekeeper in this list. Now, if you're running a slower build with Green Sun Zenith, and Life in the Loam, then by all means run Sylvan Safekeeper. I think it has merit there. But I think this should be either a Pithing Needle or Not of This World. What I do think as well is when you're playing Rainbow Depths, you shouldn't try and beat Blood Moon. As counterintuitive as that sounds, I think the way you try and beat Blood Moon is going off faster, which you can do, or discarding out of their hand. I think that's how, with Rainbow Depths, you should plan on beating Blood Moon. Because otherwise you're kind of just dedicating so many slots to stuff here that we're not utilizing our mana base here. We've got this really impressive rainbow mana base here. So we got our 4 Mana Confluence, we got our 4 Gemstone Mine, we've got City of Brass. So we've got like a big glut of mana that can, be useful for casting all sorts of weird and wonderful spells. And we're just playing green-black spells here, right? I just don't think this is necessary. So what I actually recommend when playing these sorts of decks, if you're playing Rainbow, if you want an answer to Blood Moon or Opposition Agent, so our deck is actually slightly better against Opposition Agent anyway because we don't have fetches. But if you want an answer to those, I would recommend Sudden Shock because we can cast it off of our Rainbow lands anyway, so that's good. It's only 1 pip of colour, so we can cast it under, if we've got a Thespian stage and a Gemstone Mine, we can cast it, whereas Abrupt Decay is difficult for this deck to cast sometimes because of the Thespian stage hanging around. It's not that much of an issue, but it sometimes can be. And Sudden Shock, if your opponent's played a Magus of the Moon, then you can just kill it. And your opponent has no recourse. So if they're like a show and tell deck that's playing counter magic and Magus, you just say no. Or if they're playing like the Thought Lash deck that runs a Magus, you just say no. And it doesn't matter because they can't respond to Split Second. And you also get the fact that you can always cast it, so you don't have to float mana in response to try and blow something up. So I do think that Sudden Shock is what I recommend. And if you run 3 to 4 Sudden Shock, that frees up more spaces in your sideboard. I don't actually like Karakas in the sideboard of Turbo Depths because I think if you're going down the road of trying to get a Karakas, you're probably already behind at that point and you don't win the game by delaying your own game plan with this deck, right? You can delay for a turn to do some stuff. The only thing Karakas is really that useful for is maybe bouncing an opposing Merit Lage. But I think we have better ways of doing that. Getting through it. I think Sejiri Steppe is the card for getting through Merit Lages anyway. So I'm not really convinced that Karakas is worth a sideboard slot. Bojuka Bog, like I said, is quite often a main deck card. I don't hate having that in the deck. And I don't think we need Leylines anymore. What I would recommend is there's loads of people playing these Beseech the Mirror decks that can race us quite easily. So I would suggest running Deafening Silence. We've got this mana base that can cast any coloured spell. We should really be leaning into that. So I want Sudden Shocks. I want Flusterstorms. I want Deafening Silence. All these sort of spells that are like real game enders. And I do think that Null Rod is slightly better than Collector Ouphe because the heavily dedicated ring decks tend to be running Dismember, like the colourless ones. That's their answer to Collector Ouphe because Collector Ouphe sees a lot more play than Null Rod, whereas Null Rod just kind of ruins them. So I prefer Null Rod. Again, it's also easier to cast with things like Ghost Quarter or Thespian Stage in play. It's easier to cast than a Collector Ouphe, where sometimes you might not have green mana. It's unlikely, but sometimes you're going to have a hand with like Urborg and Dark Depths, and you go, okay, I wish I could cast my Null Rod. But what I will say is we've already seen a card that's getting released in November. It's called like Legolas's Swift Reflexes or something. It's a single green mana, split second instant, target creature you control gains hexproof until end of turn, untap it, and whenever it taps, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature. So that is the best protection spell ever printed for Merit Lage. Even better than Not of This World because it's split second, so you know it's going to work and it's going to blank all removal that turn. So this deck is definitely going to look different when that card comes out, but that's like 2 months away, ish, 2.5 months, whatever. So we've got 2.5 months to sort of fine tune this and tweak it around a little bit. But I have a lot of thoughts about Rainbow Depths, and I've written about them on my Patreon if you'd like some more detail. But I've kind of gone into some of the things I think is worth doing and some of the traps of like Stifle, which I think is a bit of a trap. I think the main deck of Green-Black Turbo Depths is really, really good. The build I play all the time and I have on my Patreon. I think even when you're playing Rainbow Depths, you kind of want the main deck that resembles that. But then you're leveraging the sideboard cards of powerful things, like I said, the Shock, the Deafening Silence, the Flusterstorm, things like that is where I would say that you can play Turbo Depths. Instead of it being a budget version of Green-Black Turbo Depths, Rainbow Depths actually has a different spread of matchups. You get much better combo matchups when you've got Flusterstorms and Deafening Silence in your deck. And I think that's really worth looking into as a direction to take the deck. I think we are about done for today. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a slightly different build of Depths than I'm normally playing. We like to mix up a bit. And obviously when we get to Depth December, we're going to have many different weird and wonderful builds. And I hope you're looking forward to that one. I know I am. If you would like a donation deck on the channel, just get in touch with me via the Discord or drop me a reply and we'll sort it out. And yeah, like and subscribe, keep watching my videos, share them. And more importantly than that, play Legacy. It's so affordable to play Legacy on Magic the Gathering Online right now. So why not dive in? All right, I think with that, I'm going to say goodbye.